Security operations. You work as a cybersecurity analyst for an engineering company. Several engineers will be working from home because of limited on-site workspace, and they require VPN access. You need a solution that will ensure that any client connecting to the corporate VPN has the appropriate patches and anti-malware signatures installed. Which of the following would be an appropriate solution? That would be network access control. Network access control is correct. Network access control, NACA, is a solution that enables remote clients to access internal network resources through a VPN connection safely and securely, while confirming that they met a standard solution security baseline, such as patches, security configuration, and anti-malware solutions. The incorrect answers are endpoint detection and response, intrusion detection / prevention system, and configuration management. The first incorrect answer is endpoint detection and response. It's incorrect because an endpoint detection and response EDR solution can help detect rogue devices on a network by continuously monitoring endpoints for suspicious activities. EDR tools can also provide endpoint visibility and allow for threat hunting, incident response, and remediation. An EDR solution monitors hosts for compromise, but not a new network access control device. Intrusion detection / prevention system is also incorrect because an intrusion detection / prevention system, IDS / IPS, monitors the network and individual host for unusual network activities that may compromise the host. It typically does not monitor the host for patches, secure configuration, anti-malware updates, and other requirements that may be imposed on hosts to join the network. Finally, configuration management is also incorrect because a configuration because a configuration management database CMDB can provide a central repository for managing network access, including rogue devices. A CMODB can also track access ownership, inventory, and dependencies, as well as provide change management and audit trails. It is not used to allow or deny remote host access to the network based on security configuration. Which of the following is a method for examining malware by executing it in a protective area, as it cannot intervene with other applications or the operating system? That would be sandboxing. Sandboxing is correct. Sandboxing is a technique used to examine malware in a secure, safe environment without affecting other operating systems, application, or host. It uses either protected virtual machine or isolated physical machine. The incorrect answers are containerization, virtualization, and segmentation. Containerization is incorrect because containerization is a method of running application in their own separate memory space and environment so that they do not compromise the security or resources usage of other application. Visualization is also incorrect because virtualization is a software technology used to create logical host and network abstract from physical hardware. Finally, segmentation is also incorrect because segmentation is used to separate sensitive hosts from other parts of the network to protect them and in the event of an attack to ensure they are not used to compromise other hosts. One of your cybersecurity technicians is attempting to download potentially incriminating information about an employee's illegal actions from a website, but now the website seems to have been partially deleted. Which of the following Google operators might be successful in retrieving older copies of the website and providing the information you need? That would be cache. Cache is correct. The cache operator enables you to retrieve cache or stored copy of websites that may have been deleted or changed. The other incorrect answers are in URL, site, and in title. In URL is incorrect because the in URL operator searches for the specified text in a URL. Site is also incorrect because the site operator searches a specific domain or site. Int title is also incorrect because the int title operator searches for web pages with the indicated text in their title. Which of the following types of threat research gives insight in a threat base on what others have observed about the threat? That would be reputational base. Reputational base is correct because reputational based research provides for collected analysis and signature for malware from various authoritative resources that have previously seen and catalog a malware. The incorrect answers are heuristic based, behavioral based, and anomaly based. Heuristic based is incorrect because heuristic based, also known as behavioral based, research occurs when there is no signature or reputation available to determine the characteristics of the known software or malware, and the malware must be analyzed based on its patterns or behavior. Behavioral based is also incorrect because behavioral based research occurs when there is no signature or reputation available to determine the characteristics of the unknown software or malware, and the malware must be analyzed based on its behavior. Anomaly based is also incorrect because anomaly based occurs when there is no signature or reputation available to determine the characteristics of the unknown software or malware. An analyst must depend on observing the deviations of the malware from normal patterns of behavior. Which two choices best describe the difference between an attack surface and attack vector? An attack vector is the critical path a malware actor may use to compromise the target, and the attack surface is the logical and physical space that can be targeted by an attacker. The attack surface is the logical and physical space that can be targeted by an attacker, and an attack vector is the critical path a malicious actor may use to compromise the target. The target. The other incorrect answers are the attack surface is the logical and physical space that can be targeted by the attacker, while the attack vector is one of the critical path a malicious actor may use to compromise. This is typically one large. This is typically one larger surface is for a system, but there could be too many different attack vectors. Which of the following confidence level is best described by information that is critically credible sourced and plausible but not of sufficient quality or collaborated to warrant a higher level of confidence? That would be moderate. Moderate is correct. Information that is credibly sourced and plausible, but not of sufficient quality or collaboration to warrant a higher level of confidence. Warrants a moderate level of confidence. The incorrect answers are low, very high, and high. Low is incorrect because a low level of confidence means that information acquired is questionable or implausible and may be tough to fermented or poorly collaborated to make solid analytic interface. Very high is incorrect because there is no very high level of confidence in the estimative language used by intelligence provider, and high is incorrect because with high level of confidence, assessments are based on high quality information and or the nature of the issue makes it possible to render solid judgment. This judgment is not to be interpreted. Which of the following terms best describes the effort to integrate multiple automation tools, processes, and activities into a unified solution using a single management layer? That would be workflow orchestration. Workflow orchestration is correct. Workflow orchestration is a general term referring to the overreaching integration and management of automated tools, processes, and activities under one centralized management umbrella. Then correct answers are security information and event management, user and entity behavioral analytics, and integrated intelligence. Security information and event management is incorrect because security information and event management SIEM refers to the technologies involved in collecting disparate data from multiple infrastructure sources and ingesting and aggregating that data for correlation and analysis. User and entity behavioral analytics is also incorrect because user and entity behavioral analytics, UEBA, is the process of observing user and entity behavior for the purpose of baselining those behaviors and detecting anomalous behaviors that do not conform to the normal baseline development. Integrated intelligence is also incorrect because integrated intelligence refers to the cyclic relationship between threat intelligence sources and threat hunting. Which of the following cloud deployment models would likely be the most secure given an organization's desire to protect its data and limit interactions with other organizations in the cloud? That would be private. Private is correct. In private cloud solutions, organizations accessing their cloud service own all the hardware and underlying functions to provide services. This enables the organization to keep all its data and infrastructure secure from other organizations. The incorrect answers are public, community, and hybrid. Public is incorrect because public cloud solution, the cloud vendor owns the servers, infrastructure, network, and hypervisor used in the provision of service to your company. As a tenant to the cloud solution provider, your organization borrows a portion of that shared infrastructure to perform whatever operations are required. Community is also incorrect because in a community cloud, the infrastructure is shared across multiple organizations with a common interest in how the data is stored and processed. Hybrid in a cloud in a is also correct because hybrid clouds combine on-premise infrastructure with public cloud, resulting in organizations sharing some portion of the cloud infrastructure and allowing for the possibility of data sharing. Which of the following terms describe a network architecture in which applications are responsible for deciding how best to route data, the control layer, and then for actually moving those packets around, the data layer? Software-defined networking. Software-defined networking is correct. Software-defined networking, SDN, is a network architecture in which software applications are responsible for deciding how best to route data, the control layer, and then for actually moving those packets around the data layer. This contrasts with a physical network architecture in which each device needs to be configured by remotely connecting to it and giving it a fixed set of rules with which to make routing or switching decisions. The incorrect answers are bus network, routed network, and logical network. Bus network is incorrect because a bus network uses physical and logical bus network architectures, regardless of the software installed and control data flow. But routed network is also incorrect because a routed network refers to any network design that passes traffic beyond one local subnet to another subnet. And logical network is also incorrect because a logical network refers to how networks are designed to use logical architectures and addressing versus their physical architecture and hardware addressing. Which of the following best describes security orchestration, automation, and response? So, the technologies that enable organizations to collect security threat data and alert from different sources where incident analysis and triage can be performed by leveraging a combination of human and machine power to help define, prioritize, and drive standardized incident response activities according to a standard workflow. The then correct answers are um These activities focus on determining mitigation and managing the risk associated with threat, vulnerabilities, asset, likelihood, and impact on organizations may encounter in its day-to-day business operations. It's incorrect because this is the definition of risk management. So risk management is the activities focused on determining, mitigating, and managing the risk associated with threat, vulnerabilities, asset, likelihood, and impact an organization may encounter in its day-to-day business operations. The definition of SIM is the technologies involved in collecting disparate data, dis, disparate is that disparate data from multiple infrastructure sources and ingesting and aggregating that data for correlations and analysis. Is correct because this is the definition of security information and event management SIM. The definition of security information and event management is the technologies involved in collecting disparate data from multiple infrastructure sources and ingesting and aggregating that data for correlations and analysis. And the definition of threat hunting is the process of attempting to discover active threats in an organization infrastructure based on invalid threat intelligence and modeling. So we have 4 definitions here. They were asking about software, security orchestration, automation, and response. So let's define these 4 things that a business uses every day. So SIMs, risk management and threat hunting. So it's the technologies that enable organizations to collect security threat data and alert from different sources where incident analysis and triage can be performed by leveraging a combination of human and machine power to help define, prioritize, and drive standardized incident response activities according to a standard workflow. And the definition of risk management is the activities focus on determining, mitigating, and managing the risk associated with threats, vulnerabilities, asset, likelihood, and impact an organization may encounter in its day-to-day business operations. And the definition of SIM is the technologies involved in collecting disparate data from multiple infrastructure sources and ingesting and aggregating that data from correlations and analysis. Finally, the definition of threat hunting is the process of attempting to discover active threats in an organization's infrastructure based on invalid threat intelligence and modeling. Refer to the image below. Given the items managed by the user organization and the items managed by the cloud service provider, which cloud service is represented? That would be platform as a service. In platform as a service, the organization user only manages user data and application, whereas the service provider manages runtime, database, operating system, hypervisor, storage, networking, and enterprise. Platform as a service is correct because in the platform as a service model, only user data and applications are managed by the client organization. All other components are managed by the service provider. On the other hand, in software as a service model, only user data is managed by the subscribing organization. All other components are managed by the cloud service provider. In infrastructure as a service setup, the organization manages user data, application, the runtime environment, and all associated database and operating system. The cloud service provider provides the hardware and infrastructure necessary, including the virtualization, hypervisor, data storage, networking, infrastructure, and enterprise hardware. In security as a service model, various components may be managed by either the cloud service organization or the subscribing organization, depending on how the infrastructure is employed. Which of the following structured threat information expression, stink, domain, object, SDOs is a compilation of behavior, TTP, tactics, techniques, and procedure or other properties shared by a single entity? That will be intrusion set. Intrusion set is correct. An intrusion set is a compilation of behavior, TTPs, or other properties shared by single entities. Intrusion sets are not restricted to a single time frame and may include multiple campaigns, creating an entire attack history over a long period of time. And the three other incorrect answers are indicator, attack patterns, and observed data. Indicator because indicator SDO describe an observable event that can be used to dictate suspicious activities on a network or endpoint. Attack patterns are a class of TTPs that describes attacker tendencies regarding how they employ capabilities against their victims, and observed data SEO is used to describe any observable data collected from a system or network device. You are a cybersecurity analyst in charge of automating and integrating security tools and processes with your organization. You have two disparate security applications that must work together and transfer data back and forth between them. You need to be able to initiate certain activities and commands in one application from another application. Which of the following must you use to connect and integrate these two applications? That will be API, which is Application Programming Interface. Application Programming Interface is correct. An Application Programming Interface API serves as a bridge to connect applications together and transfer data between them. APIs are developed as an interface into an application. On the other hand, the incorrect answers are data connection interface, cross-site scripting, and security information and event management system. Data connection interface is incorrect because data connection interface is a generic term and is not used for connection between applications. Cross-site scripting is also incorrect because cross-site scripting is an attack method that takes advantage of invalid input in a web application. Finally, security information and event management system is also incorrect because security information and event management SIEM system refers to the technologies involved in collecting disparate data from multiple infrastructure sources and ingesting and aggregating that data for correlations and analysis. It is not used to connect applications together or exchange data between them. Which of the following is a major security challenge for using software as a service solution? Identity and access management. Identity and access management is correct. Identity and access management, IAM, is a security challenge to using software as a service because identification and authentication, as well as authorization, may be handled by the cloud service or by users' organization. IAM systems that are incompatible may have issues, and security teams may not be prepared for the challenges faced with IAM in conjunction with cloud-based services. The other incorrect answers are user provisioning, data leakage, and perimeter security. User provisioning is incorrect because user provisioning is normally not a challenge. It is typically handled by the cloud service provider based on information provided by the user's organization. Data leakage also is incorrect because most data leakage occurs within the organization rather than from the cloud service provider or the application in use. Perimeter security is also incorrect because perimeter security is not affected by a software as a service cloud-based solution since it is focused on on-premise protection. Which of the following uses user account management, access control, credential management, single sign-on? Oh, that's 41. I'm not supposed to be at 41. I'm supposed to be at 46. One of your cybersecurity technician is attempting to download potentially incriminating information about an employee illegal actions from a website, but now the website seems to have been partially deleted. Which of the following Google operators might be successful in retrieving older copies of the website and providing the information you need, that will be cache. The cache operator enables you to retrieve cache or stored copies of website that have been deleted or changed. 46. Okay, which of the following is a method for examining malware by executing it in a protected area so it cannot interfere with other applications or the operating system? That would be sandboxing. Sandboxing is a technique used to examine malware in a secure, safe environment without affecting other operating systems, applications, or hosts. It uses either protected virtual machines or isolated physical machines. On the other hand, containerization is a method of running applications in their own separate memory space and environment so they do not compromise the security or resources usage of other applications. Virtualization is a software technology used to create logical host and network abstract from physical hardware. And finally, segmentation is used to separate sensitive hosts from other parts of the network to protect them and the event of an attack to ensure they are not used to compromise other hosts. You are a cybersecurity analyst for an engineering company. Several engineers will be working from home because of limited on-site space and they require VPN access. You need a solution that will ensure that any client connecting to the corporate VPN has the appropriate patch and malware signature installed. Which of the following would be an appropriate solution? That would be network access control. Network Access Control, NAC, is a solution that enables remote clients to access internal network resources through a VPN connection safely and securely, while confirming that they meet a standard security baseline, such as patches, security configuration, and anti-malware solutions. On the other hand, endpoint detection and response EDR solutions can help detect rogue devices on a network by continuously monitoring endpoints for suspicious activities. EDR tools can also provide endpoint visibility and allow for threat hunting, incident response, and remediation. An EDR solution monitors hosts for compromise, but is not a network access control device. Intrusion detection/prevention system, IDS/IPS monitors the network and individual host for unusual network activities that may compromise the host. It, it typically does not monitor the host for patches, secure configuration, anti-malware updates, and other requirements that may be imposed on hosts to join the network. And finally, configuration management database, CMDB, can provide a central repository for managing network assets, including rogue devices. A CMDB can help track asset ownership, inventory, and dependencies, as well as provide change management and audit trails. It is not used to allow or deny remote host access to the network based on security configuration. Which of the following uses user account management, access control, credential management, single sign-on functionality, rights and permissions management for user accounts, and the auditing and monitoring of all these items? That will be identity and access management. Identity and access management is a broad term that encompasses the use of different technologies and policies to identify, authenticate, and authorize users through automated means. It usually includes user account management, access control, credential management, SSO functionality, rights and permissions management for user accounts, and the auditing and monitoring of all these items. IAM enables organizations to create and manage digital identities, lifestyle, create, maintain, terminate in a timely and automated fashion. On the other hand, multi-factor authentication, MFA, is an authentication process in which more than one authentication factor is used in a component of larger IAM process. It is a component of larger IAM process. Single sign-on authentication is one which only one authentication factor is used. It is a component of larger IAM process. Identity federation is a concept of using a person's digital information. Is the concept of using a person's digital identity credentials to gain access to various services, often across organizations. It is a component of larger IAM process. All of the following are network-related potential indicators of compromise, except which one? That would be unusual system or application crashes. Unusual system or application crashes may signal the presence of a malware or an ongoing attack. This is typically a host-based indicator or potential compromise. On the other hand, unexpected protocol usage occurs when attackers use atypical or unauthorized protocols, such as transferring data over DNS or to avoid detection by traditional security measures. This is typically a network-related indicator of potential compromise. Geographically geographically improbable assets. Geographically improbable asset occurs when multiple logins or access attempts from disparate geographical location within a short time frame may signal account compromise, or the use of virtual private network, VPNs, or proxies by attackers. This is typically a network-related indicator of potential compromise. Suspicious DNS requests is to a particular domain, especially if it is associated with known malicious activities, may indicate command and control, C2, server communication, or malware infection. This is typically a network-related indicator of potential compromise. Which of the following phases in the threat hunting process follows generating hypotheses that will be investigating via tools? The four phases threat hunting process. The four phases threat hunting process consists of generating hypotheses, investigating via tools, discovering patterns, and informing operations. Informing operations is the fourth phase in the threat hunting process, and discovering patterns is the third step in the four-phase threat hunting process. You have generating hypotheses, investigating via tools, and discovering patterns and informing operations are the four phases of threat hunting. So threat hunting starts with hypothesis, investigation via tools, discovering patterns, and informing operations. Which of the following terms describe workflows that help you visualize and execute processes across your security footprint in accordance with your orchestration rules? That will be playbook. Playbook are workflows that help you visualize and execute processes across your security footprint in accordance with your orchestration rules. These steps can be fully automated or they can require human interventions at any point in the process. On the other hand, checklist is a simple sequential list of actions to be taken. Attack tree is a mapping of potential attack vectors into the system, and critical path describe the shortest possible path a sequence of events can take, giving potential delay and divergence along the path. Which of the following network indicators of compromise IOC may manifest itself by generating a large number of address resolution protocol ARP queries? That will be scan sweep. Scan sweep are performed on network using a variety of protocols, but they almost always generate larger number of ARP queries in an effort to map out the network during the scan. On the other hand, man-in-the-middle attack is not characterized by generating a large number of ARP queries during an attack. Rogue network devices does not normally generate large number of queries unless it is conducting a scan sweep itself, and irregular peer-to-peer communication between workstations could be an indicator of compromise, but it is not characterized by generating a large amount of ARP traffic. Refer to the image below. Given the items managed by the user organization and the items managed by the cloud service provider, which cloud service is represented? Managed by user is user data, application runtime, database, and operating system. Managed by provider are hypervisor, storage, networking, enterprise hardware. And that will be infrastructure as a service. Infrastructure as a service setup, the organization manages user data, applications, runtime environment, and all associated database and operating system. The cloud service provider provides the hardware and infrastructure necessary, including the virtualization, hypervisor, data storage, networking infrastructure, and as well as enterprise hardware. On the other hand, platform as a service model, user only user data and applications are managed by the client organization. Other components are managed by the service provider. Software as a service model, only user data is managed by the subscribing organization. All other components are managed by the cloud service provider. And finally, security as a service model, various components may be managed by either the cloud service organizations or the subscribing organization, depending on how the information is employed. Which of the following consists of a construct that extracts the kernel of the operating system from the application running above it, enabling security separation of application from both the operating system and hardware? That will be containerization. Containerization is a method for separating application from the operating system and underlying hardware by abstracting the kernel of the operating system from the application running above it, enabling security separation of application from both the operating system and hardware. Hypervisor is software that manages physical hardware and performs the functions necessary to share resources across multiple virtual operating systems. Segmentation is the process of separating sensitive hosts from the general user population through virtualization, physical separation, and other means. Finally, virtualization is a technique in which software constructs of operating systems and applications are created by providing large tools of logical storage, CPUs, memories, networking, and applications that reside on a common physical platform for those constructs. From which of the following intelligence sources may publicly available information be derived? That would be OSINT. Open source intelligent OSINT is made up of publicly available information. On the other hand, all source information comes from a combination of any or all possible sources, including public, open, and closed, classified, proprietary, and otherwise restricted. Signal intelligence gathering is done via intercept of communications, electronic transmission, or instrumentation transmission. Signet assumes these resources are by nature non-public sources. On the other hand, measurement and signature intelligent massing is derived intelligence from data other than imagery, and like Signet, it is typically not publicly available. Which of the following would be a host-related indicator of potential compromise? That would be persistent mechanism related to services. The presence of malware or script designed to maintain persistence on the compromised host through a creation of new services is typically a host-based indicator of potential compromise. On the other hand, unexpected changes to application binary or configuration files can signal tampering or malware infections. This is typically an application-related indicator of potential compromise. Malicious plugins or extensions in web browsers or other applications can indicate an ongoing attack. This is typically an application-related indicator of potential compromise. And finally, beaconing indicates the presence of malware that is communicating with a remote command and control server. This is typically a network-related indicator of potential compromise. Beaconing indicates the presence of malware that is communicating with a remote command and control server. This is typically a network-related indicator of potential compromise. Which of the following method is the most effective in automating a few simple tasks at the operating system level? That would be scripting. Scripting is a simple yet effective means of automating repetitive tasks, typically at the operating system level, using Scripting is a simple yet effective means of automating repetitive tasks, typically at the operating system level, using built-in operating system commands and saving them to a file for later execution. Data transformation is the process of converting data from one form or format to another so it may be used in a different application or database. Workflow orchestration is a general term referring to the overarching integration and management of automated tools, processes, and activities under one centralized management umbrella. Finally, data enrichment is a process of adding context and content to a piece of data so that it may be viewed from multiple angles and at different levels of the details. This enables an analyst to view all aspects of a piece of data and more accurately correlate it with other pieces of data. Which of the following is a method for threat research that uses scores assigned to the URLs, domains, IP addresses, and other information developed by the security community associated with threat? That would be reputational. Reputational threat Which of the following is a method for threat research that uses scores assigned to URLs, domain, IP addresses, and other information developed by the security community associated with threats? That would be reputational. Reputational threat research is based on scores assigned by the information security community to gauge a threat based on its reputation. Behavioral research on the other hand, behavioral research examines potential malicious software or actions based on their characteristics and behavior to determine if they are in fact a threat. On the other hand, indicators of compromise enable threat researchers to focus on the threat based on known factors that may indicate that a malicious event is occurring on the infrastructure. Finally, threat hunting is a term used to describe actively looking for particular threats within the infrastructure based on integrated threat intelligence. Which of the following terms describes a type of cloud computing service that abstracts the requirements for running code? That would be function as a service. Function as a service, FAAS, is a type of cloud computing service that further abstracts the requirements for running code well beyond that of even password as a service solution. Function as a service lets developers focus on the actions to be performed on scale and scale it in a manner that works best for them. In the function as a service model, logic is executed at the time it is required and no sooner. Infrastructure as a code, IAC model, programmers can create code designed to construct virtual environment by provisioning hardware and system configuration automatically. Infrastructure as a service, IaaS setup, the organization manages user data, applications, the runtime environment, and all associated database and operating system. This is much more than a function as a service deployment provides. Finally, platform as a service is a cloud deployment model in which only user data and applications are managed by the client's organization, or other components are managed by the service provider. Function as a service abstracts services down even further by providing only the functions necessary for a service rather than for the platform. Which of the following best describe the four characteristics or pillars a of a cloud access security broker, CASB? Visibility, threat protection, compliance, and data security. Visibility, threat protection, compliance, and data security are the four pillars of Cloud Access Security Broker. CASB offers the ability to see what users are doing and audit their actions, detect and protect against threats, comply with governance, and ensure data security for organizations by managing security functions between the user and any other services purchased by the organization. IAM is wait. Okay. IAM is authentication, authorization, auditing, and accounting, and identity protect, detect, and response are the components. Are the four components of NIST Cyber Security Framework (CSF). Which of the following entities may recipients of the Traffic Light Protocol (TLP) shared TLP AMBER information that will be only with members of their own organization. Recipients may share TLP AMBER information only with members of their own organization and their clients or customers who need to know the information to protect themselves or prevent further harm. On the other hand, TLP read information may not be shared with any parties outside of specific exchange meeting or conversations in which it was originally discussed. TLP green information with peers and partners, organization within the sector of or community, but not via publicly accessible channels. And TLP white information may be distributed without restrictions, subject to copyright rules. Which of the following is the name given to the process of adding content and context to a piece of data? That would be data enrichment. Data enrichment is the process of adding context and content to a piece of data so that it may be viewed from multiple angles at different levels of detail. This enables an analyst to view all aspects of a piece of data and more accurately correlate it with other pieces of data. On the other hand, data management refers to the overall management of all data in the organization. Data segregation refers to the collecting and regrouping different pieces of data. Data correlation refers to the activities involved in establishing a relationship between two different pieces of data. Which of the following should a threat hunter assume prior to beginning the threat hunt of a particular threat on the network? The threat hunter should assume that the threat has already breached the network. To begin the threat hunt for a particular threat on the network, the threat hunter should assume that the threat has already breached the network. And let me see, if threat hunter assumes that the attacker, on the other hand, if threat hunter assumes that the attacker is footprinting the network, the focus should be on network defense instead of threat hunting. Also, if the threat hunter assumes that the attacker has no knowledge of the network, the threat is likely a lower priority, and other more defined threats should be examined, since this indicates that the threat has not yet breached the network or is uninterested in the network. This assumption indicates that the threat is low and that the focus should be on higher threats. And finally, if the threat hunter assumes that the threat is targeting a network, the focus shifts to network defense instead of threat hunting. Threat hunting should begin if the hunter assumes that the threat has already breached the network and is active in the infrastructure.